Hi everybody, my name is Andrea Linsky. I'm the program head for Sustainable Energy Management and the Building Controls and Energy Management programs here at BCIT. And I'm here today to give you an introduction to our new Building Controls and Energy Management program, as well as some of the other programs in the Center for Energy Systems applications. So we'll get started here with what we'll be covering today. And just so you all know, we'll be fielding some questions after the whole event so that you'll have a chance to ask questions afterwards. I think that I'll probably answer most of them as we go through everything here, but just to make sure that you're aware that we will be answering questions at the end. So I'm going to introduce BCIT to you, let you know a little bit about what we do here, talk about the Center for Energy Systems applications and our Factor 4, which is a big part of your learning experience here at BCIT in the CISA programs. Most of you, I suspect, are here to talk about the Building Controls and Energy Management program. And actually, if you wouldn't mind, I've got someone monitoring your texting as you come into me. I'd like to know how many of you are here for the BCEM program specifically, so maybe just let them know. We'll also talk a little bit about the CMAC program, which is Sustainable Energy Management, and then our Community Energy Management programs, as well as our Energy Modeling courses and some of the other interesting courses. I think we'll have sort of a big group of people from different backgrounds and different interests that will be here tonight. So I think I'll start with talking a little bit about who I am so that you're aware. I've got all the details here for you to take a look at. But essentially, I've been working at BCIT since about, I think it was 2010. I've been working in energy management, both actively out in the community as well as teaching it here at BCIT since then. And the world of energy management has been growing and shifting over the last few years. So recently we've discovered that we really need to put more focus on building controls and automation. And so that's what we're here today primarily to talk about. I was a student in our energy management program here at BCIT many years ago, so I know exactly what you're going to be going through. And I helped to develop a lot of the online program. So a lot of what you're seeing sort of comes from the work that I did originally when we were developing the online program. I just finished my master's degree in education, so hopefully I know a little bit about what I'm supposed to be teaching or how I'm supposed to be teaching now. And I also know exactly what it's like to be a student and to be working since I just finished that up. So I think we're all in the same boat here. So before we go on too far, I'd like to introduce you to BCIT. Hopefully most of you know BCIT and are familiar with our services. It is one of the biggest post-secondary institutions in BC, and we actually have more part-time students than full-time, and all of you would be part-time students in this program. So that'll be comforting for you to know that you're a big part of the institution. We offer quite a few different programs, not just trades, which a lot of people originally thought, but we cover a lot of the health sciences as well as technology. We have architectural science, computing science, a whole bunch of different sort of technology, being the Institute of Technology related subjects. So we're quite a diverse organization. The programs that I'm going to talk about are primarily online, but you're always welcome to come in and visit us at any of our multiple campuses that we have here. So the Center for Energy Systems Applications is the house that the Building Controls and Energy Management sits under, and the group that I manage. We have sort of two primary focuses. The first is education. That's our number one focus. And our secondary area is around research. And we do a lot of research with what we call Factor 4, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that later. But it's neat because it really allows us to tie in online learning with something practical and real, which is happening here at BCIT. So we have the two main courses that I'm going to be talking about today, or programs I should say, the CMAC program and the BCEM program, as well as a lot of our sort of standalone courses as well. Now, I'm just going to switch out here, hopefully this will work, to the web page that I want you to all be aware of. Pull this up here. This is our Factor 4 website, and it has quite a bit of information about the Factor 4 program that we're going to be talking about a little bit later. We can also link to the Center for Energy Systems applications through this website, so it's a good place to take a look if you would like to learn more about what we're doing. All right, so we're back to our presentation now. So let's get started with the building controls and energy management. And I'm probably going to call it the BCEM program as we sort of move through everything here. We developed a brand new program in a brand new industry, or I guess I should say a really developing industry. Aspects of building controls and energy management have definitely been around for years and years, but this is one of the first times we've tried to harness it into an educational program that's very dedicated towards that stuff. So what I'm going to start with is a little bit of background of where the CMAC program came from, because this program stemmed from that, and I think it's important to understand the introduction to energy management and how it fits with all of this. So we developed an energy management program here at BCIT about 6 years ago now, back in 2009, more than 6 years ago. And we did it because BC Hydro actually came to us and asked us to develop the program. They wanted to develop a new program because there was a bunch of different things happening in BC at the same time. The first thing is that BC's energy demand was increasing by up to 40%, or they're projecting that it would over the next few years at this point in time. They also said that the government set a goal to meeting its energy demand through conservation. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in the next slide. I've got a good image that explains that. The government also is legislated to be have a carbon neutral public sector as of 2010. So that means we have to start looking at our carbon emissions and trying to reduce them as much as possible. So we had this sort of increasing demand, and we had a problem with supply, which I'll talk a little bit about next. And we also just wanted to reduce our carbon emissions. So these are important things to keep in mind. So this is a graph that BC Hydro has used for years and years. It's changed quite a bit over the years, but I'm using this older version very purposefully. What I wanted to show you is why the program came to be. Essentially what we have here in the blue area at the bottom, we have our existing BC Hydro supply, so the electricity supply in British Columbia. And in about 2010, you can see that that dotted line is what's projected for our actual consumption. It starts to diverge from what we can actually provide here in BC. And we are actually legislated to be energy self-sufficient in British Columbia. So essentially what's happened is we are no longer going to be energy self-sufficient with the dams that we currently have online. So BC Hydro decided to try and meet this, what we call the gap, the energy gap, by doing three different things: build more, buy more, and conserve more. The build more one was around building new dams, which Site C, I'm sure many of you have heard of. The second one is buying more, and that was through the independent power producers, which are primarily renewable energy resources such as wind or micro hydro. And then the third one is actually to conserve more, and that's really where energy management came from, is that BC Hydro said we're going to meet that 77% of this gap we're going to fill through conservation. And so they all of a sudden had a mandate to start conserving energy in British Columbia. And it also happened to come through our gas suppliers as well. We started to see it as well through FortisBC. And so they had this demand, and they knew that one of the best ways to do it was to actually have people in organizations doing the conservation that needed to be done. But the problem was that they weren't actually finding the right people to do that. They didn't have the right skill set. They weren't actually able to do the conservation needed. So they came to BCIT and said, can you develop a program where we're going to be training people who have the right technical and business savvy to be able to work in organizations to conserve energy? So this is where the energy management program came from. As you can see here, I've got all the details written down. And we worked with NRCan and the Office of Energy Efficiency to develop this program, and it's been really successful. Over the last few years, what's happened is we've gone back out to industry, both industry, all of our graduates. BC Hydro is a big partner in this as well. Concert Properties, multiple different organizations out there. We've said, okay, so what's the new thing in energy management? Like, what are we missing? Why aren't we still continuing to see huge savings in energy? And the primary piece of feedback that I got from our graduates from the CMAC program is the skill set I'm missing is around building controls and automation. I don't have that skill set. I understand energy management. I understand how to do big retrofits, but I don't understand how to control buildings as effectively as I should. The feedback that we got from our industry partners was that they didn't actually have, they couldn't find the right people to come and work for them to do building controls and automation. And it was both the consulting side, so people who are doing, putting in these big controls and automation systems, but also the operator side. So these are the people who, for instance, BCIT, we have a great facilities department here who monitors our buildings and runs our buildings, but they might not necessarily have people with the right skill sets to be able to do high performance building automation and make sure that it's tying in with our energy management team and energy efficiency here. So that's where the vision for this program came from, is that all of these different partners came to us and said, look, we're missing the skill set in industry, and the vision was kind of born. And the vision really, in my mind, is that we are here to train people from all sorts of different walks of life. So we're looking for people who come from everything from the engineers and the architects who design the original buildings, these high-performance buildings, or even the older buildings that have building controls and automation or doing retrofits on them. We're looking for the, we're also looking for the builders who are actually building, the tradespeople who are actually out there constructing these buildings and putting in all of the control systems and all of the systems that need to be controlled, so they understand how controls integrate with that to make things more energy efficient. And we're working with the operators, the people who are going to be running these buildings. And we want to make sure that everyone in that whole line understands the same level around energy management and building automation and controls. And that's really where the vision from this program is. So we are welcome and happy to have a whole plethora of different skill sets and backgrounds coming into the program to really be learning about building controls and automation. And how it ties into energy management. So before we move on, I guess I should introduce you to the Building Controls and Energy Management program and how it works. We have 9 courses in the program. They form an advanced certificate that you'll have here at BCIT. We teach it online, as you've heard from me already, in a part-time studies format. And what that means is that we actually have 2 different options. You can take 2 courses at a time. Each semester is essentially how it works, more or less. And that means that every second, we ask students to come in on Tuesday nights to do a live session. And by come in, I mean sit at home in front of your computer and join us in a live session like this. It's a little bit different, but a similar type of idea, where you get to actually interact. You can turn on your video, you can participate. And that's our Tuesday night lectures. And if you can either do it in the program in 1.5 years, which means you have every single Tuesday you have a live lecture and you have 2 courses happening at the same time, sort of alternating throughout the semester. Or you can do it over 2.5 years, which means that you're only taking 1 course per semester. So that means every second Tuesday night you'll be joining us. So it's a very interesting format. We've been doing it for a few years now, and it's been working very well with a lot of our students. It allows you to both have the freedom of being able to take the program when you have the time to take it. We're all working, or most of us are working professionals. Some of us have families, other commitments. So some people like to log in early in the morning and other people late at night. But at the same time, we have assignments and we have our Tuesday night sessions that keep us on track and moving through the program. And we have 1 cohort intake per year. So you're with the same group of students all the way through the program, through 1.5 years or through 2.5 years ideally, so that you get to know your classmates, right? You're going to be doing group work with them, you're going to be getting to know them, and you're going to be creating networks of people that are going to be really valuable to you once you leave the program. So I'm not going to go through the program goals in detail here, but I do have them all listed, and you can find them on the Building Controls and Energy Management website. So I just wanted to let you know that I basically described where the vision came from. We want to make sure that everyone, no matter what role you have in doing building controls and energy management, can relate to these goals. These primary program goals really reflect what we're hoping people come out of this program with. So yeah, you can also access all of these on the Building Controls and Energy Management website as well. So let's get into the details here. We have, as I mentioned, 9 courses. For those of you, hopefully there's some of you online who are actually graduates from our energy management program, Sustainable Energy Management Program. For those of you who are, you'll recognize some of these courses. Energy management, this program is actually developed with 4 of the courses being from the Sustainable Energy Management Program, and the other remaining 5 are brand new to this program for building controls. So as you can see here, basically anything that ends in a 0-0, you'll be actually taking in the same classroom, online classroom, with the CMAC students. And we'll all be learning from each other essentially, and then you'll break off and take your classes that end with a 20, with just specifically your building controls and energy management classmates. So your classes will be a little bit smaller in that case. We have quite a few different courses here, primarily technical courses. We start with energy basics just to make sure everyone really gets the idea behind energy management, and we're all on the same page around energy, greenhouse gases, climate change, why we're doing this, and the energy situation in British Columbia and some of the other provinces here in Canada. We then really get into the details of how building controls integrate with your building systems. So it'll be going into detail with all of the building systems that exist and all of the different strategies that you could use to control them, as well as introducing controls, getting you up to speed on those. We then get into some of the more techie stuff, I guess, or the high-tech stuff. Building systems integration and analytics really looks at building control systems and the DDC systems, all of the different analytics systems that you can use to analyze your data and figure out how to make things more efficient, and all of the different protocols that are currently being used in the industry. We then will take a break and look at some codes and standards. It's important to make sure that you're up to speed on the codes and standards for any industry, really. We take a commissioning and optimization program, and a big piece of this is really knowing that when you build a building, it's so important to make sure that you're commissioning it properly and getting it ready and getting it ready to run, and continually commissioning it throughout its lifetime. This is one of the biggest pieces that BC Hydro has helped to push forward in the energy management community, is the value of continuous optimization in buildings. And they're actually, that's part of the reason they came to us and said, we want you to help develop this new building controls program, is because we see so much value in continuous optimization of buildings, and that involves building automation. We will then be taking a course on decision making. So this is the finances. How do you pitch a new controls project to someone, right? How can you prove the financials on the project and whether or not it makes sense to put in all these extra sensors and things like that. So we'll be looking both at the financial side, but also other aspects of decision making that are really important to consider. We'll take a look at change management, because no matter how technically fancy you make a building, how well you have the building set up, you're still going to have people in it, and people are a big piece of actually doing what you need to do. You need to be able to convince people that they can change the way they behave, turn lights out as they leave if you don't have the controls set up to automatically do it. And also change the behaviors of the senior management within organizations that see the value in doing this. So change management is really around behavior change. We have a controls and operations management course, which is what I think is going to be one of the most interesting ones. It really looks at when you are operating a building or a facility, how do you use controls? How is it integrated? How do you design buildings so that they're being most effectively operated? Are all around the day-to-day operations of buildings, and I think I'm really excited about that course. I think it'll be really interesting to see, how the operators, hopefully a lot of you are building operators, how much you can contribute to that course and help share with everyone else. And finally, our controls project. So we'll be helping you really pull together the whole program, really understand how it all works together, and actually do a project that'll be worthwhile for you, and something that you can sort of take with you onto your career. One thing I should mention is that a lot of this is, the intent of this is to make it as applied as possible, and not just applied in like a random, here's an idea, try it here, but at your workplace. We're really hoping that this will be really relevant to you in your job, day-to-day job, if you're currently working in this field, and you'll actually be able to take this back with you to work, possibly do assignments on people at work or systems at work that are related to what you're doing. So that's a big piece I wanted to mention. So as I mentioned, we have 2 options for the course structure. I've had a lot of questions about this, so I thought I'd address it. This is the first program structure. Basically what happens is you take the first 2 courses in year 1. That's 5100 and 5320. 5100 is going to be starting on September 6th. So please make sure that you've got your applications in. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. And so you'll take both of these 2 courses right at the beginning from September to December. Then in January, you'll take 5500 and 5620 right after another, and at the same time as taking 5420. And then in your spring term, April through June, you take 5700 and 5800. And then you get July and August off, and trust me, you'll need it. A lot of our students always say, oh, I'd just rather power through. But the summer months are really nice to be able to take a break, sort of reflect on what you've learned for the last year, and then come back in September, refreshed, renewed, and excited about doing your final project, as well as 5820. Now, the second option I'll show you shortly, but a lot of people ask, well, what if I don't know if I want to do the 1.5 year or the 2.5 year? What if I'm not sure if the workload will be too high for me? I usually recommend to take the first 2 courses in the first semester. So 5100 and 5320 are just take a hard semester, your first semester, give it a go, see how it goes, and you can choose to drop down to fewer courses going forward if that works better for you. But it also doesn't limit you. If you find it's manageable, you can get through it, then you know you have the ability to complete in a 1.5 years. So this is the same schedule that I just mentioned. Each semester, except for the very last semester, 5820 and 5920, you'll actually have to take at the same time, so you will have a busy last semester. But this is the breakdown otherwise. You just take 1 course per semester throughout the year. So let's talk a little bit about who might take this program. I sat down in a room with probably about 15 individuals from industry, and I said, okay, tell me the types of people who are missing the skill set that we would be teaching in this program. And so they gave me a huge list of different types of people, and hopefully most of you see your existing career in there, and you're ready to come in and add this as a supplement to your education. But you know, there might be other areas that you come from as well, and we're more than willing to entertain that. So take a look through, figure out exactly where your background is, and if you fit well. The neat thing is, as you can see, there's so many different backgrounds, and what we found with the energy management program is that it's such a unique learning culture when you have people come in from, say we have, in that program we have people with business backgrounds, we have engineers, we have trades individuals, all coming into the same classroom and teaching each other from a different perspective how they see the problems and how they move through them. And so I suspect we'll see the same sort of thing in this program as people move through it. The next thing everyone always asks me is, what kind of jobs can I have when I finish this program? And what's interesting is that we don't really have a job title, one specific job title that this program is planning for. And I think I kind of explained why that's the case earlier when I said that we're going to have a range of different people coming into the program. Therefore, you can't all just be building controls, energy management, like professionals, like that's their title at the end, because you all come from different backgrounds going into the program. But these are a lot of the types of employment areas that we suspect our graduates will be moving into, and that we've had interest from industry saying we really love it if we could find people with these skill set coming into our companies. So some of them will be energy management jobs, others will be more specific. If you already come from a controls background, then controls company will likely hire you for your new energy management specialties, and as well as design firms and all sorts of other organizations. So I think this is a good place to sort of start looking. So one of the questions I always get is, what is class like? And I've explained a little bit of that, but typically what happens is students log in at a scheduled time. Right now it's 7 p.m. on Tuesday evenings. For those of you who are not in the Lower Mainland or in this time zone, I guess I should say not the Lower Mainland, but in this time zone, we can sort of work around that. Please contact me if you're in a very, very different time zone. But essentially, we work in these live sessions. You log on and you join us for the live session. We interactively learn from each other. You do breakout rooms online and do discussions with each other. Sometimes you'll be doing presentations online and presenting your work to myself or guest lecturers that we have that come in from industry to watch how you're progressing throughout the program. When you're not here with us on Tuesday nights, you'll be working through the majority of the course content. So these Tuesday night sessions are not the heavy lifting. The majority of it happens on your own time. A lot of it will be reading, interactive learning opportunities that we're designing. It'll be working through other course content. There'll be quizzes, there'll be discussion forums, all sorts of different group projects that you'll be working on. So it's a whole mixed bag of different ways that you're going to be learning. I will be, or not me, but your instructors. I'm in one of the courses that you'll be taking, but not all of them. Your instructors will be there to answer your questions. So there's just like a real instructor in a program. You can contact them by email anytime. They'll get back to you with questions. It's essentially like having a normal class the way that you normally would. And they are the ones that do the Tuesday night lectures as well. We've also managed to work really well here with our energy management and facilities team to find some really neat learning opportunities that'll work well. Now, before I continue, I did want to mention, for those of you who are here who are really interested in the CMAC program, a lot of what I'm discussing is very, very similar for the CMAC program. Same sort of setup, same sort of class type. They're almost exact replicas of each other in a lot of ways, so keep that in mind as I move forward. Desire to Learn is our online learning system. I'm not going to bother following the link today, but it's basically a really neat tool that allows us to have interactive sessions where you can chat with each other and with me throughout the program. And we'll be looking at that. The very first lecture on September 6th will be in Desire to Learn. This is what Desire to Learn looks like when you log in. And it's changed a little bit actually. This year we've had a bit of a color reformat and it's slightly different organized, but it allows you to receive news from your instructor as well as actually accessing the content. You can jump ahead and back in content, or you can just flip through it page by page. You can jump ahead to quizzes, discussions, and all sorts of different things throughout the course content. So it's a very user-friendly, very well-organized online learning tool. This is me teaching in one of our courses, online courses, and as you can see, we've got the ability for a chat to be happening in the bottom corner where students are answering a question. I obviously had asked a question and they're giving me answers. Docks, shipyards, streetlights, pump stations. I probably asked what industrial things use energy, right? Something along those lines. I also have slides that I can write on and I help you sort of work through content and we do bit by bit. You can also see me there. And one of the neat things about this is it makes it really easy for us to bring in industry partners. They can come in and present about the latest, greatest thing that's happening in industry from anywhere in the world. So that's one of the benefits of having this program online, is that you get to meet that many more industry experts. So I'm going to take a slight step away from the technical, how the program works, and talk about the research partnership we have that really makes this program unique. Both the energy management program and the building controls and energy management program. We're really excited that we've just recently set up an agreement where we actually have access to IntelliWeb, our faculty does, and they can actually go in and look at BCIT's DDC system or our control system real time and understand what's happening with our buildings, and they can use that to teach the students exactly what's happening. One of the instructors I know in a different program here at BCIT had the students measuring all of the different airflows in a classroom at the same time as they were changing, looking at the control settings and tracking everything. So it's a really neat teaching tool. So you'll have access to that. You'll also have access, or our instructors will have access to that to teach with you. The other thing that we'll have access to, which will be really interesting, is we have real-time utility monitoring for all of these buildings in our Factor 4 area. And so you can actually look at our utility consumption and you can monitor what's happening throughout the day and really look at it as a living laboratory that we're working in. So I'm just going to start a video now that explains our Factor 4 area in a little break from my talking, and hopefully you'll learn a little bit about this research project and what is really happening here at BCIT that you get to be part of.
In 2009, the School of Construction and the Environment at BCIT made a big bet. In the interest of achieving ecological sustainability, the scientific community is calling for a 75% reduction in global levels of energy and materials consumption. We now know it is possible to reduce consumption in the buildings where we teach without compromising service levels. We call this the Factor 4 Initiative. The work of Factor 4 is organized around 3 components: energy, materials, and restoration. BCIT's Factor 4 buildings will operate on 25% of their 2009 energy levels. In order to achieve this, we are investing in projects that increase energy efficiency and produce energy from renewable sources. Factor 4 is reducing materials consumption by changing curriculum delivery methods and diverting waste away from landfills. Factor 4's restoration projects are intended to improve the ecological health of the area and the look and feel around the Factor 4 buildings. These improvements will promote sustainable practices while celebrating our history and heritage. But Factor 4 isn't all talk. Many projects are already transforming the north end of the Burnaby campus into a living lab of sustainability. A reduced ecological footprint, lower operating costs, and campus renewal using unconventional financing are nice co-benefits of what we do. But really, Factor 4 is about providing students and researchers the opportunities to engage in real-life learning activities. We are more than halfway towards reaching our Factor 4 goals, and if we all work together, we know it can be done.
Great, so hopefully you found that educational to learn a little bit about what we're doing here at BCIT. What I'm going to do is talk a little bit about the benefits of the partnership. One of the neat things is that it really allows students to see real-time data, current data, and they can actually look at projects as they happen on campus. Ideally, what will happen throughout our program, we're still working on developing a lot of the actual exercises that students do, but you'll actually get to work on projects where you get to visually see what's happening. We'll do video shots of the buildings and things like that, as well as looking at your real-time data and the building controls and how it all fits together. It also acts as a home base. Being on an online program can be kind of esoteric. You're kind of out there. You're not necessarily learning in a classroom, a hard classroom that you're used to. And by having the Factor 4 area as one of the places we do a lot of our learning from, it really gives us a home base and a classroom, I guess you could say, a virtual classroom for us to be doing our learning in. And it gives you all an option or a chance to be part of this bigger question that we're trying to answer here at BCIT. I think it's a really valuable one, and so hopefully you all do too. And so it'll be really interesting to see how we continue to integrate a lot of our learning into the Factor 4 area and the program that we have here. So one of the questions that I'm sure lots of you will have is about applications and how do I apply. One of the things I was actually just thinking about that I'm going to talk about first before we get into this is that I've recently done a lot of work with traveling and discussion with people in Alberta. I know that we're going to have a brand new outlook on energy efficiency in Alberta over the next few months here with the new government in power and a lot of the conservation movement happening there. We are actually, all of our programs, both the energy management program and the building controls and energy management program are set up fully online so that you can attend from Alberta. And there's going to be a few changes to the curriculum giving you access to information about Alberta. One of the neat things that we have is that we actually allow students to, for instance, if I'm teaching about codes and policy, for instance, that is brand new to British Columbia or is specific to British Columbia, I won't hold the students responsible for doing an assignment specifically on British Columbian policy. If you're from another province and you want to do an assignment on Nova Scotian energy policy or Albertan energy policy, you're more than welcome to go and do that for your assignment instead of British Columbia. Whatever will be the most value for you in your career. So what I'll do is I will take a look now at how you apply. And this is the really important part because we don't have that much time. Courses start September 6th, and so that gives us a little over a week here to really hammer through the application process and make sure you get it right. If you get your application process right, bang on the first time, it'll be easy for you to get into the program. If you're missing documents or you do the steps out of order, things slow down a little bit and it might be tough to get yourself into the program on time. So please pay attention here as I discuss this all. First thing is make sure that you check that you meet the entrance requirements. On the Building Controls and Energy Management and the CMAC program website, we have all of the entrance requirements listed. I'll actually bring them up later on in the presentation to show you them. It's really important to make sure that you actually meet those entrance requirements. For those of you who are fourth class power engineers, I know a lot of you are wondering if that's actually sufficient to get into the program. If you don't have a lot of work experience, basically I'm going to be talking with my associate dean about that right now to make sure that that'll work for us. If you do have a lot of work experience, please outline that in your application. Ideally the 20-year route, and then you can actually go through that stream of application, but I'll talk a bit more about that. So check to make sure you meet the entrance requirements. The second one is complete your pre-entry assessment. So on the website there is a pre-entry assessment form. It's a PDF form. You actually have to download it onto your computer, and I say save it on your hard drive first. Don't try to fill it in online because every time you do that it ends up not filling out properly. Save it on your hard drive, fill it all out, make sure that you put your student ID number into that form. There's a link on where to get your student ID number if you don't already have one. Put your ID number in there, fill it all out for me, and send it to the email address on the form, which actually gets sent to me. Make sure you accompany that with your resume, so that I can double check that what you've said on the form is in line with what's on your resume, and I can put those both on your record. And essentially what happens is I review that, and if you send it in tomorrow or early next week, I will be processing them as quickly as I can, getting through them all here. I have a few left in my inbox to process from the last few weeks, so for those of you who have already sent it in, I'm still working on it. If you haven't heard back from me by the end of the day tomorrow, you can contact me again. I'm basically, what I do is I review it, make sure you have the right pre-entry requirements, and then I send it back to you and you formally apply on the application process at BCIT. And so you'll upload that as well as all of your transcripts that prove that you meet the English and the math requirements. So please double check that you meet those, and if you don't, you have to actually go through and there's a whole bunch of links that can show you, well, what if I don't have English 12, and what if I don't have Math 11? How can I prove that I actually have those skill sets? There's other ways to prove it, so make sure that you upload the documentation that proves that you have those skills. Once you're done uploading all that stuff to our web page, I've informed our admissions department that I'm expecting a big influx after this info session, and they'll be working hard all week next week to process your applications, and hopefully you all get accepted. And at that point, you'll be expected to attend on D2L your first live session on September 6th, and you're all invited to attend an in-person welcome day on September 10th, and all the details for that info session, that welcome day here at BCIT in the Burnaby campus will be sent out to you once you are accepted into the program. So mark your calendar now, just September 10th at BCIT. If you live far too far away to come in for that full day session, then you can join us virtually. I usually ask that you try and make it if you can. If it's a few-hour car ride and you have to stay at a friend's for the weekend, we would really love it if you can make the effort to come in, because it's the only time we ask you all to be in the same place at the same time. So it's a great opportunity to meet me, meet some of your classmates, meet all of your classmates, meet some of the instructors in the program in person. So that's the application process. Hopefully I'll be seeing all of your applications come in the next few days here. That is the time crunch is that big piece. And then the next intake will be next September, most likely, unless we have a huge waiting list by January, and then we'll consider running a few courses then. But at this point it's likely to be just next September. So I think I've already talked about this. We have 10 seats available for sure in the program. Currently we have no one formally accepted into the program, just because we just opened it up. It's a brand new program. So we are expecting to easily fill those 10 seats, so get your application in a first come, first serve process. Hopefully we see them come in soon. If we end up with many more than 10 people, we'll likely open up a second section to get more people in, because we don't really want to leave people unable to get into the program. So yeah, don't forget that those are the steps I went through with you. The other thing is, if your credentials, your diploma, your degree, whatever it is that you're bringing to get into this program, is a foreign credential, and we actually have a list of the countries that we do accept credentials from. But if it's not from one of those countries, you will have to get your credential assessed by the ICES organization. And so all of that information is on our website. You can go through it in more detail. So just keep that in mind if you did do all your training in another country. This is a small font, so I'll walk you through it pretty quickly. These are our prerequisites for the program. So these are the ways that you can get into the program. The first thing is, if you have a recognized diploma or degree, so that's 2 years or 4-year program in one of the engineering fields, electrical, mechanical, process controls, or computer engineering, those ones specifically. One in electrical controls, mechanical technologies, instrumentation, power and process engineering, HVAC technology and building science, industrial instrumentation, or process controls technicians. If you have something that's similar to that, but not those formal titles, please let me know. We'll take a look at it and consider it. The other option, so if you don't have that, the next option is an interprovincial red seal. And so we're looking for them specifically from plumbing, industrial instrumentation mechanics, industrial mechanics, electricians, refrigeration and air conditioning mechanics, steam fitters, pipe fitters, electrical motor systems technicians, and boiler makers. So as I mentioned, if you have your 4th class power engineer, we will consider it, but at this point I'm still trying to figure out the nuts and bolts around all of that. So please make sure that you let me know that that's your case when you submit your application to me. Or if you have 20 years of work experience working in facilities, controls, or related trades, then you can bypass those first 2 options and come in on the work experience option. So if you happen to have a 4th class power engineer and 20 years work experience, please choose the 20 years work experience, because that'll get you through the system, no question asked. The next piece is, if you've completed the energy management, sustainable energy management program. And so I'm not going to go through the program prerequisites for the sustainable energy management program. You can find those online. But for those of you who are interested in the CMAC program, they're very similar, just less technical background required. We take people from business backgrounds and other types of trades as well. And then the other thing, as I mentioned, you need to have your math and your English requirements all sorted out. So hopefully that's pretty clear, and I see your applications come through. Now, one of the questions I get from people is, I don't want to take this program, I just want to take a course or 2. We will be offering a limited number of seats in each of the courses, and only if you meet the prerequisite requirements. So you'll have to take the first course first and the second course, and you'll be able to take 3 courses total without actually enrolling in the program. This is a really good option for people who are already energy management and controls expert who really just want to do a specific course in, say, behavior change, or another one in a different area. It's a good place for me to assess you, do prior assessment, and see if you would fit into those courses. Or if you really have no idea if you want to take the program, you can come and take just the first course. What I would say is that you pay course by course as you go through the program, so there's not a huge benefit to not enrolling in the program and just taking the course rather than enrolling in the program and taking the course. By enrolling in the program, you guarantee yourself a spot, which is the hard part, because this is only if there's space left in the courses that we allow additional people to take them. So that's pretty much it for the Building Controls and Energy Management program. I wanted to try and address that one primarily because it's a brand new program. The CMAC program is very similar in the format and how the application process works. I'm going to talk a little bit about the courses, but I wanted to talk about some of the other really neat courses we're doing in the energy systems application area. So this is the CMAC program. What I've done is I've bolded and underlined the courses that are in both, that are only in the CMAC program. So these ones are very unique to the CMAC program: energy systems, operations management, energy auditing, strategic planning for energy management, and then the project is a different type of project that you would be doing. The difference here is that not everyone comes from a strong technical background in this program, so our energy systems help to bring people up to speed in that understanding how buildings work and how they run. And then the energy auditing course really allows you to do a full energy audit on a building and understand not just the control side of things, but a lot of the other types of things that might need to be replaced in the building. For those of you who might not come from a technical background, this could be a good way to get into the Building Controls and Automation program, Building Controls and Energy Management program, if you were to take the CMAC program first and then ladder into the other course, other program. The other thing that I wanted to talk to you about is our community energy management program. So many of you may actually work for municipalities or communities. You might not be even remotely technical. You might be city planners. There is some technical stuff in that for sure, but you might be a politician or on a council, part of a different community. And so this is a brand new program that we've developed in partnership with the Community Energy Association. And we have 6 courses that we're going to be offering. It's not a formal program, but they are all relevant to community energy management specifically. So it's not a very technical program, but it allows you to learn about how communities can develop community energy and emissions plans, how they can switch their communities to community-based renewable energy systems, how they can develop green energy and local and work with the local economic development to help develop the area, how to finance and govern for green energy systems is a big piece as well. And then how to reduce energy use in new and existing buildings. So this is probably the most technical course you could think of, but if you think of a municipality, you have buildings all the way across it, arenas, schools, hospitals, your residents in the community. So where do you start? How do you target those buildings? How do you work through it all? And then finally, our low carbon transportation. So how are we going to get our communities around to all of the different places they need to get? So this is a really interesting new program that we're excited to offer, and the first course will be this in September as well. These ones are online Wednesday nights, and they're a slightly different format. It's just one course at a time for these groups of courses. So if you're interested in this, the application process is pretty straightforward. You actually just email me with a copy of your resume and your student ID number. And once I have those, I'll review your resume, make sure you have the right background to succeed in the program or the courses, and then I'll make sure we grant you permission to register for the courses. We have some interesting weekend courses. These are short, 3-day or 2-day weekend courses about residential energy efficiency and residential renewable energy. So if you're either a homeowner or you're working with residential applications and you want to learn about energy efficiency in a building, we have a 1 weekend long course that you can come and take on that. The second weekend course is about how, okay, now you've made your home efficient, or now you've helped as a client of a homeowner help make their house efficient. Step 2 is to how to install renewables, or how do you work with renewables in a residential application. Neither of these are formal installation courses, I should mention. They're more about like learning about the options, assessing the options, figuring out what would work best for the houses that you're in and how you move forward with that. The other neat thing is that our partners in this program are helping to provide an energy saving kit that actually you can use to make your house more efficient. So that'll be provided to you as well. One of the most exciting things that we're working on right now, in my opinion, at BCIT, is we're looking at building a new high-performance building lab, and we're almost there. We're working away on it right now. In this lab, we're actually going to be teaching hands-on passive house tradesperson training. Not just passive house design. A lot of people have taken those passive house design courses. This is actually how do you physically build a passive house. And as you can see, some of these pictures here show what our students do. They actually assemble wall assemblies and they put them all together. It's a week-long crash course, essentially, and you can actually go and get your passive house certification afterwards from Passive House Canada. So it's a really neat new course. We've only run it for about a year now, but it's been very, very successful. So if you want to come and do a week-long in-person course here, using your hands to build passive houses, this is where you would come. That one is an online application. You can actually just click online. You don't have to contact me at all. You just follow the links through CISA 1500. And I believe we're on our last one here. CISA 7100 is our energy modeling course for building professionals. And this is a really neat course. It was designed to help people who are not specifically energy modelers, but often do bits and pieces of modeling or work with modelers to better understand how modeling works and to actually work with different modeling softwares. We actually do this in person here at BCIT's downtown campus on Friday afternoons for the full fall semester, and we're going to be starting the course on the 9th of September. So we're really excited about this course. We've been running it for a few years and it's been really helpful for architects, engineers, anyone with a building science understanding who really want to start getting into energy modeling and want to learn about how it all works. And then I guess I do have these last few courses specifically on solar photovoltaics or solar power and solar hot water heating. These are weekend-long courses for people who want to come in. We often have engineers, we often have homeowners, a whole different range of people who want to come in and learn about solar hot water or solar photovoltaics and how to put them in their home. Again, I should mention they're not installation courses, but they do go into the details of how to design a system properly and set it up. So that's it. That's everything that I wanted to cover today. I think we might have a few questions. I'm just looking around here. A few questions that are actually going to be relevant to all of you, so I'm going to answer them online visually with you. And then we're going to take it offline and I'll answer questions one-on-one in the chat room. So let me just see what these first few questions are.
So you could maybe generally answer a question about companies or...
Yeah. So we've had some questions come in about like who are we working with, or what kind of companies are there out there that are doing things around building controls and automation. So I guess I should have brought my list with me. I didn't, but we've been working with some really neat software tools, like Sky Foundry is actually working with us to try and get access to their software for students to be able to use and learn on. We have IntelliWeb, as I mentioned, and ESC controls and automation. We have worked extensively with BC Hydro and BC Hydro primarily around where they see the building controls and automation world going. We are working with a lot of engineering firms engineering firms like Prism Engineering and SES Consulting, who've been working with us to help develop curriculum. Optimatics, a lot of different organizations out there that are just starting to get into the field or that have been in the field for a while. This is a good question that I would rather have our experts answer. A lot of our instructors have, know the names of all the different softwares and the tools and the technologies that we're going to be using and the companies that are out there. So that's maybe a question you can bring to our intro session on the 10th, because I think some of our faculty will be joining us for that session. Another question?
Next general question would be, for those who did CMAC already, is the admission process the same? Do they have to resubmit all the documents again?
Yeah, so the question from CMAC graduates is, do I have to resubmit everything again and go through the whole process again? Fortunately, the answer is yes. Hopefully, you have them all. It wasn't that long ago that you submitted everything. If you really can't seem to find things, you might be able to actually find them on my BCIT from where you last uploaded them. And if not, contact me. I might be able to help you with that. But yeah, it's basically, you do need to submit a new pre-assessment form. That's the big thing that'll change. But all of the other documentation, unfortunately, yes, you do need to resubmit. Any other overall questions?
I think the other questions are all specific.
Okay. So we do have a lot of other questions from you. They all look specific, so I'll get on a one-on-one basis with you and try and answer as many as I can. Otherwise, I will be around. My contact information here is provided to you, and if you reach out to me, I'm happy to have a phone call with you if you have any additional questions that you might have. We're really looking forward to seeing you join us and be in the program. The other thing I should mention is that we actually had 2 industry partners who came to us with money because they thought this program was so valuable. Concert Properties, who manage a ton of the properties here in BC, see so much value in having their operators understand this. Any building operators understand this. They've come to us as a supporter of the program, as well as BC Hydro, who really see the value in continuous optimization and building controls and automation, really being the champion behind energy efficiency in BC. So thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening. Hopefully I'll see all of your applications come across my desk, and we'll see you all in class on September 6th and for the welcome session on September 10th.